regardless, that was still very good.
It was good, but I mean, you can't look at it again. So let me do a little bit of that if you don't mind, just for the next, your people in your class. I'll do that. Okay. So let me just go backward very quickly. The idea, before you go to the databases, you want to look up on Google terms for mitigating climate change. If you do that, you're going to come up with other words to do this with. And you start here, you're going to find out something about it. It's going to explain it. Click on these questions and they'll tell you strategies, for instance, is another word you might look at. This is an excellent piece from NASA. We just looked at that. It wasn't recorded, which is why I'm not going to go over it again, but it's got a bunch of things in there that are just great background information. We didn't do this before. I hate to point this out, but some people click on Wikipedia. This is not a strong site. We can look at it for a minute. It is good when you know nothing. It's very good when you know nothing. Okay, I don't know what this is about. And they do give you some ideas down here. So low carbon energy sources, energy storage, supergrids, decarbonization of heating, lifestyle and behavior, so reforestation. So they're giving you some ideas that you could use when you do your searches on the database. And if this is a well-cited article, which it may be, it looks like a really long article. Agriculture, things you can do with that. Cost benefits. They talk about the Paris Agreement and the Kyoto Protocol, which we're not in anymore. So there's a bunch of stuff here that you could actually look at. And in the very end of the article, there's reference articles. So if you found that something was interesting and you wanted to check it out, you could, take one of these things, just click on it, it'll take you there. So you can do that with the Wikipedia. Although I'm not saying go to Wikipedia, I'm just telling you that right now. And then we were saying that, okay, so once you have a pretty good background, if you look down here, they have some examples, climate change mitigation examples if we wanted. They have solutions. Let's click on the examples to see what comes up there. See if that's anything. And it doesn't look like that's going to work at all, so we'll go back. And instead, we'll look at these things where they're talking about solutions. So if we click on this one, we can click on any of these. 7 Solutions, Scientific American's very good. Green America has 10 solutions. This one, I don't know what this is, but if we click on it, it's probably going to see the problem with some of these things is they're minor in terms of their impact. So this is kind of looking childish. Might have some good stuff. I shouldn't judge it. Maybe it's good. So solar panels, now these are things that you guys could do. Changing light bulbs, things like that, personal lifestyle changing. But this is not something that has huge impact in terms of climate change and global warming. Humans are not the ones creating the problems. They're really not the ones. The big stuff is the big problem with pollution is actually farming. That's the #1 problem. It just uses a lot of resources. And then the second one is business. That's the second one. And I would say the third one is just energy consumption, which is something to do with us. And you can see there's more. There's 27 ways to prevent climate change. We could look at that. Premier packaging. That doesn't sound great. This guy, oddly enough, is an interesting person, David Suzuki. So if you know the person, but it's things you can do. It's not large things. This is all personal stuff. So not that great. We want larger things. Okay. So look up these terms, find some things you want to work with, and then what we want to do is, I'm going to stop this for a minute. See, well, maybe I can just go there. Yep. You want to go to the library website. And so if you just went to the Grossmont College page, just Grossmont College, it'll bring it up. This opening page looks like this. And then you want to find the library website, so you just go over to Student Services, you click on that one. It opens up a little bit for me, and it won't. But anyway, I'll click over it here. And we go to that one search thing that the librarian in the video tried to show us. So if we put on this mitigating climate change, we could put that in there. That's for sure our search term. I'm interested in biofuels, so I'm going to put that one in. And notice what I do is I type in mitigating climate change, put a plus, and then put the biofuels. I'm going to hit search, and let's see what comes up. So that plus piece that you can put in there is really useful for your search. Okay, so I'm getting a bunch of stuff, and it's got stuff that I want. This doesn't say anything about biofuels, except that I know that energy crops is actually production of biofuels. If you don't know that, it may not make a lot of sense. This is about energy, transportation, and global warming. It's a book, though. It's available online, so let's just say well, if we click on it, we're going to go to a chapter. This Springer Link online service, I'm not sure it's available to us, so but you could check it. It may be through a database, so we could check that one. But you go down here and you look and see what you've got. You can also click on this subject piece over here if you want, which is a limiter. Uh-oh, I think the thing is slowing down now. And so if we were concerned with greenhouse gases and biofuels, we could click on that. If we wanted to know something about engineering with the biofuels, we could do that. Here is biofuel, so I'm going to click on that because for me, that's what I want. But it has other things like greenhouse. So this is sort of a limiter. It's going to go down to 165 roughly articles, but I'm going to apply it. Okay, some of the same ones are coming up. So this is the negative part, the changes in land use when you grow corn, for instance. So this is a sort of a negative stuff. The impact of first-generation biofuels on the depletion of global phosphorus. I'm not sure what that is. Impacts of biofuels on climate changes. This sounds interesting. It's the New York Academy of Science. It's 2010. It's not too old. You would kind of like to have things fairly recent. So if we clicked on date over here, and we could have done that earlier, this is 2004 to 2019, which is fine for me. I just don't want it to, I don't want it to go very old. Resource type, you could also click on that if you wanted to. And you're going to see that it's, you can go just to articles if you want. There's only one book. Uh-oh, I think I lost it. Somehow. Well, you can click on those pieces there. Let me see if I can go back down. Wow. Resource type. So articles. I don't think we want conference proceedings. You can also click on newspaper search. It may not do anything. We'll just do that just to check, see what's going on with that newspaper thing. Okay, so newspapers are pretty new articles. Here's a really new one, 2016. Defense and aerospace is probably pretty good. NASA is one of the people. So it talks about ethanol, Global Renewable Fuels Alliance. It's an argument that we've got to have biofuels play a bigger role in mitigating climate change, because in that way we can get away from oil and all the problems. So we could look at that if we were interested. And we would just click on it. Let's see if it'll bring it up. And it's interlibrary loan, so we'd have to request from another library. This is not going to be useful for us. We don't have the time for that. So we're not going to do that. We're going to get out of this one. Okay. This looks like a lot of the same stuff. So there's a bunch of stuff. And as she said, if you found an article that you really liked, say something like this, like maybe if you're writing about biofuels, you find out that it's very harsh on the land use. It creates a lot of problems that way, and maybe there's some ways to fix that. So with the policy, so we might click on that, and then that might help us in what we were talking about. So let's say we clicked on this. Well, no, let's get out of newspapers. Get out of newspapers. It's going to go back in a minute. There it is. Good. Almost there. Okay. All right. And now it's not newspaper ones. It's more things like books. So you clicked on this one. I don't know what's going to happen. This, we'll see. All right. So here's the subject. This is about forests. More about forest management, which could have something to do with the rainforest. It might be something to do with that. And I think it's going to be about replacement, what we should be doing with that. 2013 is pretty good. If we wanted to read this book, we could click on this little link here. So let's say we did that. I don't think we want to read a book, but we're just going to look at it. It'll take a minute to there it is. Now we can download it because, you know, it's a large file, so it's not going to just come up. Okay. And we can get PDFs of each one of these little pieces. So what's nice here is that if we don't want the whole book, but we think something in it might be useful, if we thought that this rotation of forestry for supplying biomass might be good, and I think it's just talking about how much you use of a particular time. Stump harvesting sounds fun. I don't know how you harvest a stump, but anyway, sounds kind of fun. Good look at that. This is some more stuff. So risk and uncertainty. I don't know what you want. We could always look at a conclusion just to see what they came up with. And okay. All right. So we could do all of that if we wanted to. If we wanted this book. You can do an advanced search too, if you wanted to. So let's say you're not coming up with what you wanted. You can add stuff. So what would we want to add? I think we might want to add. Let's just say cost. Cost might be something. We can see if that would add anything. We could change the years if we wanted to have something longer. We could put a different year in. What type of items we want, we could decide on that. You could say, I just want journals. So let's just try journals. Why not? Journals would be something that's been peer reviewed, probably. Language, we could, well, English. So unless you're speaking another language, we could do that one. So you can narrow the field a little bit. You can add a new line if you wanted to put cost or time. Let's just do that, cost or, we're probably not going to find anything, but we'll do it. Cost instead of and, we're going to put or, cost or, we could put time or effect, put results. This might be the wrong thing, but we'll try it. Let's do a search, see what comes up with. wow, came up with a lot of stuff. This is biomedicine. A lot of this stuff is nothing that I really want. So I'm going to go to the subject and make sure that it's looking for what I want. And if it turns out that there's nothing on this subject list that, oh, some German stuff, that sounds like what I want, I'm going to get out of the search. I am not going to waste my time with this thing. Yep, I'm not really seeing anything on, well, there's full text, but I mean, I'm not really seeing anything like biofuel or anything I can really use. So I don't like this search. I'm going to get out of the search. And I might just get rid of this stuff. Go back to my original search. So you can change these things, and you can there's just all kinds of options up here that you can work with. Okay. My original search was really simple. It's this one. We definitely want to have it available online, so we click that one. Make sure it's good for us, but they mostly are. Pretty much the same that we can get it. All right, so we've kind of done that. We looked at this terms that we might be looking at, terms for mitigating. That was our original search thing under Google. We did the library thing where we actually went and we searched for a while. So we did that stuff. Okay. So that's kind of the way you do it. The databases are useful as long as you have the right search term. If you don't have the right search term, you can't find it. Don't waste your time. What I would do is contact the librarian and ask a question. What's a good way to search for this in terms of these things? And they'll send you back the terminology you need, whether it's the Grossmont librarian or it's the 24-hour one they've got. They'll do that for you. So I would do that. I wouldn't just, kill myself on that. Okay, any questions on that process that we were looking at?
No, that sounds good, Professor. But quick question on it:
Yeah.
are we gonna have like a set number of sources that we need to cite for the project, or is it like
Yeah, you do. It's 6.
Okay, all right, Roger that. I'm gonna look over the information again.
Okay, so what I'm telling you is I'm going to be putting maybe 20 articles. It just depends on how much energy I have to copy these things, make PDFs, and like that. If I can find these articles online, I won't have to do all that. But I don't know. We'll see. So I have to do like basic research for you guys, and then I'll post that because these were actually things that worked out really well for people last time. So it's good to know how to search. It's good to do all that, but really, we're writing a paper. We're not actually becoming scientists or that kind of environmentalists. I don't think. So we just want to learn how to write the paper. So I'm going to save you some steps in that way, but I also want you guys to go and get a database or two at least, so you know what you're doing. And go through that process. When you guys transfer to a four-year school, there's not going to be anybody to help you through that. You're going to be on your own, so you kind of need to know how to do it when you get there. All right. So we're going to just do a bit more. We're going to look at some stuff that you have on Canvas. We're going to look at that. So I went down to files. So the homepage looks different, but I went down to files. And it kind of looks like this when you start. I'm interested today in citations. So this research article part right here, which is going to have some articles for you. There'll be a pile more. There'll be a whole bunch on that one. And the directions for how to do this are here. People are asking me for an outline, so I'm going to make an outline and I'll be posting that there. You guys like the outline, so I'm going to do one for you. But today we want to look at this. I'm going to remind you that this first document there, the library information doc, has the videos on it. So if you kind of get lost, you're not understanding what you're doing anymore, you can go back to that. So this one's Scholarship as a Conversation. Just an overview of what you're doing, databases, why you should do it. This is for Academic Search Premier, which is a similar thing. Now, we could have gone to the library website and just chosen databases and chosen a particular database. I would choose EBSCOhost if you're going to do it like that. That's another way to do it. And then if you look at both of these, this one's a 6 or 7 minute thing, how to log in, but it also does some basic search stuff. It's kind of good. This is where she mentions that you should go to Google to get the terminology, but she doesn't, she goes through it so fast, I think you miss it. So that's why I wanted to do that for you. And then these are the more detailed searches. You know, she's going to show you how to do things, how to either expand the search or narrow the search, or she's going to give you some quick suggestions on, hey, suppose you find a book that's really good you like, or an article that's really good you like. There's a place on the library website that says, you like this one? You want more? And you click on that and it brings you to more of those same type of articles, and that can also save you. So this is a good piece to look at, and it's a reference. It's right here. I wanted to remind you guys that we looked at this briefly, but we're going to have to make a works cited page, which means that you're going to have six or so many articles. And you're not going to know how to like write it, because unless you go in the database, it doesn't make the citation for you. You're going to have to make it. There's another site we can look at Monday, but I wanted to show you this first just because once you just see this, it's so much easier than going to some of these sites and having them make it. It's just really easy. If you have a printed source, it's simple. It's like, these are in Text Citations, what they look like. So when we're talking about what do you have to put in your paper? So here's one where we have a paraphrase, evidently. And it doesn't say where we got this information, so we have to put makes sense, we have to put the last name of the person. And then it's a printed source, so we want the page number. It's in parentheses, and you put a period after that because it's really part of the sentence. If it's in the sentence already like this, notice that you don't need to put it in there. In this case, there's 2 articles by the same guy. So this guy Standish wrote this one and this one. You have to put both things in if you're doing that. So it goes through this. If you have 3 authors, for instance, no author. If you have no author, which is, some people want to know, well, what do I do then? In this first case, the Sunscreen 71 was a website. We don't really know who made the website. They evidently liked it. So, and there was no article title. The whole thing was about sunscreen. So they put the website name in. Notice that's in italics. And they have a page number. Now that's kind of interesting that there would be a page number. So I'm not quite sure what this is. Typically on a website, there is no page number. So if you print something and there's a page number on it, on the thing that you printed, it's not on the website, so don't use the page number. So you wouldn't be putting that. This one comes from an article, and again, this could be something where they've just reposted the article on the website. But there's no author to it, which would be sort of odd. So there's the article in quotes, and there's the page number and the period. So it goes through this, all these situations. It sort of gives you these situations. Works cited page we'll be looking at, and it's telling you the things that you might need. So this is an example of a citation that would be on one if it were a book. Notice that if you have 3 or more authors, so where you put this one, Well and Michael, and you have like 3 authors or more, you have 4 or 5, 6 authors, because sometimes you do. You just put the first name and you put comma and you put et al. It means the rest. If there's 2 authors, you have to put them both. Once you're over 2, you just put this, et al. Okay. So that's a book. You won't be doing books probably. Websites you might be doing. So here's one. There's the person that wrote evidently made the website. And it's called So Many Books. It's in italics. It's got material that's from 2003 through 13. So they've added to it. They haven't changed the website. They just kept adding to it. And it might have revised on it. So a revised date would be like a publication date. And then this is the publisher or the organization that put it on. Actually, it's not. It's the same name as the website. It's just the link, somanybooks.com. And then the day you access it, you put it there. Notice you write access, you write the day, month, and year. You write it like that. Something that you're more likely going to be doing is article on the website. So if you have a name for the article on the website, and it's about 50% of the time you will, 50% of the time you won't. When you don't have a name on it, it's maybe not as credible as you would like it to be. Anyway, you put the last name, first name, you put the article title there, it's in quotation marks. The name of the website is in italics. Put a comma, and then you put the day and the month and the year that this thing was either published or reviewed or copyright, something like that will be on there. And this is the URL. It's not normally a period, it's normally a comma there, but okay. Accessed on the access date. Okay. So it's nice to just look at this. If you do a video, a tweet, the databases, the online databases, the library is going to do that for you. You won't have to worry about that anymore. Should you be dealing with an email or a personal interview, it gives you that. So this is just kind of a quick and dirty to do it, easy way. And especially since what you're going to be doing are probably over and over again websites and databases. You may have an ebook. If you have an ebook, then again, that's through the library website. They'll make it for you, so you don't have to worry about that. This little worksheet is really nice just because once you kind of get it in your head, the idea of how to do it, then you just do it like this. If you notice, chapter in a book, author's name, last name, first name, chapter in a book's the title. It's the same as, it's in quotes. It's the same as if it were an article. Then you have the book title, again, italicized. If it were a website, it's italicized. You have a publisher in the case of a book. In the case of a website, probably sponsor. All right, and then the year of publication. Article in a database, this is how you're gonna put it on there, but they're gonna give this to you on the databases, but it still shows you. Website, if you're just going to a website, you have to do this yourself. And so author's last name, first name, title of the article, again, is in quotes. Website's italicized, publisher, sponsor, unless they're the same thing. If, for instance, and I'm not asking you to or suggesting that you do this at all, if you had Wikipedia, which I'm not going to count as one of your sources, you can use it as a source, but instead of 6 sources, if you use that one, it's going to be 7 sources. I don't honestly have that much against Wikipedia. It's just that it's not a reviewed piece. So for academic and research purposes, I can't accept it. But if you use it, you have to cite it. So it would be your 7th source. And when you look at it, it's not such a bad piece for basic information. So let's say it's Wikipedia. Name of the website's Wikipedia. Well, guess what? The publisher sponsors Wikipedia. You only put it once. So you would just put the name of the website in italics, leave this off. Leave the publisher sponsor off. And then put the date of publication, put the URL, put the access on date. So that's not too hard either. And it's a quickie there. If we were going to use one of those online pieces that we'll talk about Monday, occasionally I'd say 1 out of 4 times they make mistakes, and what they do for your citation may be wrong. So that's why it's nice to kind of know what you're doing, so that if you see something that's wrong, you can say, hey, I don't think that's right. Let me fix that. Okay. Let's look at what a paraphrase is. I think you know what a paraphrase is, maybe, and maybe you don't. So paraphrase is when you put something in your own words. We tend to want to do that when it's high-level language, when it's antiquated language, when it's something we think we could say easily, or more accessible for the reader. That's the only reason we would do it. And also you can't quote it so much. So is to be your rendition of the essential information. It's usually a very short thing. It's a legitimate way. Now you have to document this because even if you paraphrase, again, that's not your information. You borrowed that. It may be your words, but it's not your information. So you want to give it a source, an in-text citation for two reasons. One is you're telling people that your information is credible. Well, if it comes from you and we don't know who you are, you're just a college student, which I'm not saying that's nothing, but you're not an economist and you're quoting an economist, or rather you're paraphrasing an economist. We want to see that it comes from a really credible source. So we're going to go, okay, cool, great, thanks for giving me that information, but you still document it. Sometimes it's a more detailed restatement. So you might throw in a personal example that wasn't there originally. Okay, a quote. We want to look at the differences here because some people get a little confused over that. Quote's pretty easy. It's word for words. Notice it's word for word. In this particular quote, there's a quote inside a quote. So this person, Gladwell, wrote this piece, but this little piece right here, he borrowed from somebody. So when you have a quote inside a quote, the regular quote has your two regular quotation marks, it's the double. The quote inside of the piece has single marks. So you only have single marks like that. A paraphrase of that looks like this. And if you notice, he's not taking phrases or borrowing words. He's actually put this in his own words, or she has. Over here, there's a problem. They start with this part. Now notice this says success is the result. So they take that whole thing. All they do is cut this out. They cut that part out. So success is the result of a cumulative advantage. None of these are this person's words. They're all from the original source. And then they start the same way as the other one did. The professional hockey player starts out a little bit better than his peers. That's an exact quote. But no, they didn't put any quotation marks. They're pretending like they said that themselves. And that little difference, they put that little opportunity. Switching opportunity and difference. So this thing is plagiarized. If you use more than 5 words in a row of somebody's piece, it's a stolen thing. And notice there's no source on this. And really what that is in my mind, more sloppy than anything. I don't honestly think people are cheating, but that's only my perspective. A lot of teachers think you're cheating for some reason. You want to appear to be smarter than you are. I don't know. Quoting. So for quoting, the deal with quoting is to how to punctuate. And this doesn't have it, but I'm going to explain to you that if you have a long quote and you have 4 lines in your paper, you have 4 lines, you have to do what's called block. So if this were a regular paragraph and you're writing along like this, you notice, and this were the regular margin, it's in your 5 spaces. And then if you had a piece that was 4 lines, you would block it. You still double space, it doesn't single space. You don't put quotes around it. You block it, you write the whole thing. It's the exact quote. It could be 6 lines, you write it. At the end of it, you're going to put the source at the end of that. And it's going to break off from this paragraph here. It's still part of that paragraph. So if you haven't finished your paragraph, you continue on with the paragraph. It's just sort of separates this from the regular part of the paragraph to show this long part that I'm sticking in here is a quote. It's just over 4 lines. You don't want a lot of those, but occasionally you might need one. So that's how you punctuate that one. But here are the regular conventions. So periods and commas always go inside quotation marks. I'm not sure how many people's papers I'm going to mark, but that's always a problem. This one is, we need to remove his nose. That's the quote. You guys are going to want to put the period outside. It does not go outside. It goes inside. I'm going to be telling you about this in a minute. May as well tell you. So this one is sort of a lead-in, and we're going to call it something else in a minute, but she writes. This whole thing is a sentence by itself. So we're going to put a comma there. We're going to leave the capital W. We're going to leave the period. If this were in the middle of the sentence, we still leave all that and we continue on with our period. So when you quote a complete sentence, it's got its own period. It's got quotes around it. If you introduce it, like this one is, you have to put a comma after your introduction. Semicolons and dashes go outside. So what a semicolon means is I've finished the sentence, I'm starting another one. Here's one. England's still a great power. Semicolon, now I'm going to start another sentence. It goes outside. Commas and exclamation marks and question marks, it all depends on if the original quote was a question or if you put it into your way of you're asking a question including the quote. So in this case, she asks, who's really running America? Well, this was already a question inside the piece you took it out of. So you leave that question mark in there. You don't remove it and put it outside. You leave it just like it was. If you're asking a question about something you wrote, then who created the phrase, a stitch in time saves 9? That goes outside because it's your question. This was the original source's question. Okay. And again, this is telling you in number 4, if it's a standalone sentence, we capitalize it, we leave the period just like this. She writes, we need to remove his nose. Now this sentence continues. There's no punctuation there between the sentence and this but. Nothing, you just leave it just like that. But she writes, and this shouldn't be capitalized here by the way, but there's a little s. She writes that they need to, probably need to eliminate his snots. Now notice that the period goes in there, and that's the end of the sentence. So this thing that I'm calling a lead-in, they call it an attributive tag. I don't know if you're going to remember that. I don't think it's important. It can either come before it or can come after it. If it comes after it, you put a comma there. You're going to take the period out, you put a comma there, and like that. If the tag comes before the quote, you put a comma and you leave it alone like it was, and you leave the period inside. Okay. So these rules we kind of went over quickly. On Monday, we're going to have a little exercise that you guys are going to work with to practice it. We might look at that again a bit just as to remind you. And then the forms that you're going to be looking at, you're going to be, I want to make sure that you guys can look at these things and see what they are and not confuse yourself with what you're doing. So in this particular piece, it says identify the forms of citations. Here's the thing that's the original piece from the text. Man is born free, everywhere he's in chains. It goes on like that. So here's somebody who wants to borrow a piece. They put, in an essay examining the relationship of humanity and society, Rousseau asserts this thing, that man is born free and everywhere he's in chains. Is this a paraphrase, a quotation, a summary, or plagiarism? Zachary, are you there? Are you there, Zachary? Are you listening? Did I put you to sleep? Let's see if Zachary's there. Hey, Zachary, are you awake? I know he's there, but he might be sleeping. All right. Tamel, you're there, right?
Yeah, I can try it.
It's not hard. I'm giving you the easy one. So let's go back to that screen. Maybe Zachary will wake up. We'll see. All right. All right. So this is the original piece. What is going on in this? Is it a paraphrase, a quotation, a summary, or plagiarism?
Would it be a quotation?
Yeah, it sure is, because look at that. It's quoted. So in the last class, this guy went through 3 of them. He said it was a paraphrase, and he said it was plagiarism, and finally he decided it has to be quotation. So good, you did that easily. And if you look up here, you're going to find that man is born free, everywhere he's in chains. That's the very first thing. So they felt that was really well said. That's why they wanted it. This piece here is wrong at the end of the piece. So it has Rousseau in the sentence. It should not have Rousseau here. So this exercise actually has some mistakes in it. This second one, it says Rousseau suggests that although they come in the world uninhabited, human beings find themselves universally oppressed. Again, this should not be in here, but well, somebody did it. Okay, so let's see who should do this one. Let's see if I can wake somebody up. Alma, are you there? Alma? I tell you. Jessica.
Well, you gotta have the video on.
I'm going to put it back on. Oh, somebody's chatting here. Hold on. Yes, sorry, I can't use my microphone. Okay. Sorry, Alma. Jessica said hello. Jessica, can you use your microphone? I don't know, Jessica. Okay, Randall, I have a loud family. It's okay. I'm just going to ask you to click on the unmute the thing when we.
Hi.
Hi. I have a dog.
Sorry, I have.
It's all right. Look, I just want you to answer the question. So let me bring it back up for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, there you go. So we're looking at number 2. We want to know if this one is paraphrase, quotation, summary, or plagiarism. And we're looking at this thing up there.
Is that a paraphrase?
Yes, it is. You get 50 points.
Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, you guys are good. The last class, I don't know if they were just sleepy or what was going on. Okay, how about this one? It says, in his essay, The Origin of Civil Society, he questions the observations of humanity which indicate that a person's free nature and his or her active social status are in conflict. Okay, Randall, what do you think this one is?
It looks a little bit like a summary.
It absolutely is a summary. One way that you would know is they're talking about this whole essay, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, now that can't be a paraphrase because it's a lot. Paraphrase is a simple thing, a fairly small thing. This last one must be the last choice. So it says, even though a man is born free, everywhere he's in chains. Some men believe they're master of others who are no less than a slave. So a couple of things wrong here. They stole exact phrases. And then the other thing is, there's no source. This is plagiarism. Okay. We kind of do this, and it's not meant to be a complex thing, so that you guys can think about yourself and when you're doing it. And, you know, it's easy to screw up. I tell you, really easy to screw up. So, so we've kind of done that today. I don't think there's much more we can do today. So I'm going to stop the recording on that.